Hello again. I'm James, the grumpy petrolhead, driving this Rolls-Royce. You're very much aware of the car's history, and this car really does have a story to tell. So why not stick around and come with us while we share with you the story of this car. And it's the story of its first 99 years. No doubt there'll be another 99 years of stories to come.
When we were looking to buy another car that was more robust than the Wellesbourne, we were doing a lot of research, and this 20 HP was the sort of car that we thought would meet the requirements that we had. So I was showing a friend of mine all the information that had come through to us on the internet from the dealers, and she noticed an invoice which was made out to somebody ending in Bart, and I told her I didn't know what that meant, and she said it means baronet. So that, of course, whetted our appetite to find out more. And we discovered that the baronet was Sir Alfred Yarrow. But more importantly, I think anyway, is the fact that it was actually his wife that bought the car. And she was, well, Lady Yarrow at the time. And she has an absolutely amazing history. And I just think for 1926... a woman buying a car, being the first owner, is just really rather remarkable. As far as we're aware, she was actually a friend of the first Lady Yarrow, who had passed away, and she was also, we believe, an assistant to Lord Yarrow. So obviously we haven't got any more details with regard to that, but she was a family friend and had known them for quite a long while. And she actually, I think, married Lord Yarrow within a year of his first wife dying. From what we know about her, she was a complete character and sounds like an absolutely fantastic, entertaining lady who I would have loved to have known, and just feel so lucky to actually own her car in a way. That's part of the history of it. She was married to Alfred Yarrow, hence she became Lady Yarrow. She was his second wife, and she also was a family friend initially and knew the original Lady Yarrow. But before that, she was a suffragette, which is again incredible, and she also published a book which we managed to buy, and it's called As the Water Flows by Eleanor Barnes, and in brackets Lady Yarrow. And this book is just absolutely wonderful, and it's called As the Water Flows, a record of adventures in a canoe on the river and trout streams of southern England by Eleanor Barnes, Lady Yarrow. Just wonderful. And it says here as well, with illustrations by Helen Stratton and photographs by the author and others. So she was also a photographer. So here's the author, and it actually says that it was published in 1927, but I'm not actually sure when she did her canoeing. But what we did was, when we found out who she was, and the fact that she'd written a book, I think that was just through general research, I managed to purchase it from an international auction site, which is well known. And obviously it came, and I was very pleased with it. But what I didn't know was that there was a letter in there as well, which is dated the 27th of June 1928. It's only brief, so if I could just read it. It's my dear Miss Swirls, lovely name. You said something about having seen a book called As the Water Flows, written by my wife. I was not sure whether you said you had a copy or had seen it. If you have not got a copy and would like one, I would send you one with a great pleasure in memory of our little spree together yesterday. Yours sincerely, And then in the book, it's actually got his address and to Miss, I think it says Bertie Swirls, in memory of our little spree, June 26, 1928, A.J. Yarrow. So when we were continuing our research into Eleanor Barnes, the Lady Yarrow, we discovered that she'd actually written another book, and this, incredibly, was entitled Alfred Yarrow, His Life and Work. And it's completed by Eleanor C. Barnes, in brackets, Lady Yarrow. And it's just incredible again. This was actually published in 1923. And if I can just read you the foreword. This is by somebody called Viscount Knutsford. So if anybody knows who he was, or whether there still is a Knutsford, then do let us know. That would be great. So here goes. I am responsible for this book being published in my dear friend's lifetime. He objected and forbade this being done. I had to point out to him that we were all getting older, and that many of his friends who would have enjoyed reading it were dead, and that more were likely to die before he did, because he himself, showing no signs of decay, would probably have to be shot on the Judgment Day. He would not give way wholeheartedly, so the book goes forth to his friends with only his reluctant consent. One word more. His old family friend and connection, Miss Barnes, with an asterisk, then at the bottom saying, now Lady Yarrow, is responsible for every word in this book. I know that it has been as much as she has been able to do to get Sir Alfred to read even a part of it. The life is the life of a man who, starting from the proverbial half-crown or less, has never looked back. It is a life, therefore, that should gladden the heart of any young man himself starting life if, and it is a big if, he will only determine to have pride in character and to put character first and success second. When we were looking through all the receipts and the build details, which are incredible in themselves as they're all handwritten, as you'll see from the example, we noticed that there was a rather glaring error on the behalf of, was it Windovers, the bodywork, coachwork builders. They'd made out the invoice to Sir Alfred Yarrow, and then it's clearly crossed out, as you can see, with Lady Yarrow written over the top. So that was a little bit, I can imagine, I like to imagine her having quite a go at them if she ever saw that in her suffragette mode.
Oh, it's windy. Hope I don't lose my hat.
In around 2000, one of the owners actually found an article, or came across an article in Country Life magazine, which had a photo of a Rolls-Royce. Anyway, they then went on to do some research, and it transpired that the photograph was actually of our Rolls-Royce, which has the chassis number GYK14, and it was a fire engine. And they also did some further research, and if I can just read you really quickly part of a letter we have. It says, I spent some time with 4 serving and ex-officers of Goring Fire Service who were able to lend me the original negative and further information on 2 pre-war cars. At one of those meetings, a postcard-sized photo of GYK14 was shown to me, which they thought to be one of the other cars. So of course it wasn't, the others were a Silver Ghost. So obviously there were 2 Silver Ghosts and R20 HP. As far as we can tell, by identifying the fire officers, 2 of whom were the fathers of the officers at our meetings, the photo was taken circa 1942. So it was used as a fire engine in the war.
So who was this fella, Alfred Fernandez Yarrow? That's some name, isn't it? Well, he was born with very little in 1842, but he did have a supportive mother, and he was quite good at engineering. And he went on to start the Yarrow shipbuilding dynasty. So in about 1892, he won a contract with the Admiralty to build what is really now known as the first destroyers. They wanted a fast ship or small boat that was fast enough to counteract motorboat torpedoes, which were starting to becoming a bit of a threat. In his book, he refers to getting the contract for these boats, and they specified, I think it was 20 or 22, 21 knots as a speed that the Admiralty required. And part of the contract said that when the boats were delivered, if they did, for every knot that they didn't achieve, they would pay less for the boats. So Alfred agreed to that, only he'd said, every knot above, I will be paid more. So that was the contract. Only he knew very well that his boats could do more than the contract in the first place. So he was a clever fellow. We do know that the car was found derelict in the 1970s, and then it was rebuilt with the touring body that you see here today. A guy called Dick Brockman of Oxfordshire did a really good job of making a new touring body for the car, and this is pretty much as it is today. When this car was derelict for some time, it must have been open to the elements. If you see here on the steering column how pitted it is, so it's obviously suffered some corrosion. This is something that interests me. The cap for the float. The cap is obviously aluminium, and the bowl is made of brass. But look at all this corrosion here around the edges. I wonder why that's corroded. If anyone's got any ideas, please let me know in the comments. I don't know whether it's because it's two different metals and they've reacted, causing this corrosion, or whether it's just corrosion, but I don't think aluminium would corrode like that. So I think it's possibly a reaction between the two metals.
It shows as well that it's really more than the sum total of its parts, isn't it? Thank you for watching, and we really appreciate it. If you're still interested, please do come back, and next week James will be sharing his love and enjoyment of owning an iconic 70s superbike known as the Laverde.
Oh, sorry.
Keep that in. The legend, which is
the Laverde Jota.
Thank you.